Playoffs roll on, so fantasy rolls on as well. This is your divisional round primer on the Fantasy First Down. I'm Ben Wasley. Welcome to the Fantasy First Down. Quick show today because we are talking divisional round fantasy football. I know this isn't a big one for most of you, but I still wanted to put a video out there for those of you that are still playing fantasy football at the moment. I also apologize. It's over 100 degrees here where I am and has been for over 6 hours, so you're seeing my shoulders. Sorry, not sorry. Now, if you haven't already, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe on YouTube. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. You can also follow us on Instagram at Fantasy First Down and on Twitter at Fantasy First Down with no O. My rankings are at ffdfantasyfootball.com. But let's get into some fantasy football for the divisional round. It doesn't really matter what sort of league format you're playing in. At this point, if you can select the players you're using, this is a good situation for you. Now, I will highlight some players that you'd want to use in one-use leagues. Plenty of leagues out there where you're only allowed to use each player once during the playoffs. I feel like this is a good time for that. And I would be considering using a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson this week in a one-use league, particularly because one of them is going to be out this week. So you really are better off just taking a shot on one of them and trying to get the most value out of both. I'd probably lean Jackson, but it would be totally reasonable to go with Allen as well. If not, Jaden Daniels is a fantastic option, assuming you didn't use him last week. I do think Patrick Mahomes could have a good one this week against Houston, given they do tend to be pretty weak against the pass. We'll have to see how that goes. I'd be happy with anyone in the top 5 there. Running back wise, and look, we know Saquon is a gun. Not sure this is the week I'd necessarily start him, but if you haven't already, now would be a good time. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to drop a little bit because of the David Montgomery situation. We don't know exactly what's happening there. When I originally made this rankings, he was listed as out, but now I think he's probably going to play. So just so you're aware that if he plays, that'll move Gibbs down to the 3 spot behind Henry, who I think in that matchup against the Bills is just a little bit safer. Montgomery would slide in around that Joe Mixon area, probably slightly below Mixon because I'm worried about his workload in that first game back. James Cook gets a difficult matchup against the Ravens, but I still think he's more locked into a workload as they're likely to be in the lead. Unlike the Rams, we know that Kyren Williams doesn't get a lot of receiving work. So when they're not leading, he does struggle to get the volume. Same issue with Joe Mixon. Plus, he gets that terrible matchup against the Chiefs. Everyone below there's a total lottery. We don't know what's happening in Washington, but given they're probably trailing, I'm actually leaning Eckler this week, especially if you're in PPR. This is half PPR rankings. With the Chiefs, I don't want to start either of those guys. They're just too risky. Wide receiver-wise, Amon-Ra St. Brown gets the best situation, though I do like Nico Collins' matchup and situation. He's a great option to use in a one-use league. So is Terry McLaurin in that matchup against the Lions. Both of those teams concede a lot of points to wide receivers, and I do think that their teams are going to have to chase, so I would expect a lot of passing. Puka Nacua gets a far tougher matchup against the Eagles. That's why it's a bit lower down. We saw A.J. Brown hardly get used this week. I don't know if all that readings tired him out, but hopefully he has a better week this week against the Rams. I'm not really trusting him. Then there's a whole heap of slightly lower options. I do think Xavier Worthy's becoming a more consistent option. He gets a good matchup against the Texans, so he's a good sleeper for this week as well. I'd be easing off Zay Flowers unless we get a clear report that he's definitely going to play full snaps. Tight end wise, and it's all about those top 3 guys. Which one should you be leaning towards starting? I'd probably go with Andrews. They do tend to pass the ball a lot more in situations where they're trailing or expected to trail, or at least in very close games. And especially in a one-use league, that means that you're going to get that use in before you run out of time with him. Dallas Goedert, he's kind of being used a little bit more at the moment, but he's hard to rely on. Everyone else doesn't particularly interest me. Ertz would usually be up there, but Detroit's a really tough matchup, so you can't really trust him there. And Tyler Higbee, not really sure he's fully healthy, and it's also a tough matchup. I do think Higbee has the most upside of those lower guys. Kickers, and unsurprisingly, it's the teams expected to win that have the most reliable kickers, so I'm going that way with this. And DST, same idea. You want a team that's going to win, but also be able to get you those points from sacks and interceptions and things like that. And that's all we've got for a very simple divisional round. As always, if you've got any questions, hit me up. I'll be back next week. We are going to be talking dynasty football. I've already got my quarterback and running back ranking sorted, so we'll be taking you through some of those. Plus, NFL draft, mock draft will be coming out soon as well. So look forward to hitting you up with that stuff for you guys. Other than that, hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy some playoff football, and I'll see you next time.